This is hopefully one of the more important reviews I've done in a while, and as a reviewer, I usually avoid watching other reviews. This is especially true if the product is new or if it's from a new company. MOZA, however, presented quite some difficulty for me. There's been a consistent buzz about MOZA ever since it released just over a year ago. Noobifier, did you see MOZA? Noobifier, what do you think about MOZA? Noobifier, I'm upgrading or I'm thinking about buying. I'm thinking about buying MOZA. What do you think? It's actually crazy. In forums and groups, it's common to read people who have sold complete ecosystems off and made the change over to MOZA. This is especially compelling when you go to read old posts from that same person and they're proclaiming that they will never change brands and they will always be loyal to Fanatec. As you can imagine, examples like this were really enough to pique my interest, so when MOZA reached out with the offer to review their mid-high entry direct drive wheelbase, I gladly accepted. They also sent me SRP pedals and an R300 CSV2 rim. When scripting for this review, I decided to review those two parts separately because unlike the video for the Logitech DD Pro, the MOZA ecosystem is much more complete, offering several product types in different price points. And of course, it is my hope to have the opportunity to test more of their products, so each of them would get their own video. I was finally happy to see for myself why there seemed to be a shift in the community. I'm part of many forums and groups and many subreddits for sim. Fanatec used to be the only answer when people asked others, what should I buy? I'm going to say, despite avoiding other reviews, I was expecting this to perform very well because of the buzz. Hello YouTubers, this is Noobifier. Most of my experience has been with mid, high, and higher simulation gear. I reviewed the Camus 50 Newton wheelbase and was shocked at its dollar to performance. Logitech also released their DD Pro. That was very good. Both did very well, and the reviews are up for you if you're shopping in this market. But today we're looking at the MOZA R9, a very compact 9 Newton direct drive wheelbase as part of MOZA's ecosystem. MOZA Racing was founded by Gunsen MOZA recently, but the company has roots all the way back to 2012 with experience making camera stabilization systems for the masses. Operating from the technical hub sectors of Shenzhen, as the sim market expanded, MOZA expanded into that market. The R9 base alone sells between $400 and $450 US, and then you can add $250 for a wheel and then $200 for pedals, and you're sitting around $900 plus some shipping. What a great price point. A complete direct drive system for under $1,000. I would say that its most direct competition would still be that more expensive Fanatec CSL DD with the boost kit, but by no means stop there, as I've pointed out there are many other options during the intro. The R9 has a 1 Newton advantage over the CSL DD, and you might be quick to say that it's unlikely that any person would actually notice 1 Newton's difference. I tend to use a lot of feedback force, so going from CSL DD to the Logi DD with its 11 and then the Camus with 15 made the CSL DD seem quite light. The R9 feels very strong with the included R300 wheel. It's quick and it snaps with authority when driving in rally. It's able to lighten up and provide great indication when you're losing grip, but then it can announce with accuracy as that grip is being restored. The road texture is appropriate. You can feel the road bumps and the engine vibration in your hand. You can feel when the car is happy or when you're pushing it to the limit. I was really impressed during my testing. It's physically very small and it has a good mass and mostly metal construction. Metal in the case is a huge advantage, not only providing a solid anchor for mounting, but it provides a means for heat to dissipate passively. There are no visible vents for cooling, and the unit never became much warmer than ambient even when used consistently for hours and hours of lapping. The passive cooling system seems to work very well, but I will point out that my studio is in a basement and it's never above 20 degrees Celsius. The MOZA R9 gives you the impression of a high-quality product with a striking, universal design with clear branding. I think it'll look just as good in 10 years as it does today. The rear cover, which is held in place with screws, is the only part that's plastic, and all of the connectors and switches are here on the back. From left to right, you have a port labeled dash. There's a port for an optional emergency stop switch, which isn't really required at this torque output. Next is a Type B USB port. This older legacy port may seem out of place on a new device like this, but the benefit is that it's very easy to find. When you're doing your cable management, you may be able to find the exact right length because they're that common. If you accidentally damage the wire, you can pretty much run out and pick one up anywhere. They're super easy to replace. There's a 6-pin power plug that attaches to a 180 watt power brick that operates at 36 volts. And finally, you have a very small momentary power button. Below there are 4 metric threads for mounting. Use the optional desk mount or adapt it to a plate for your simulation base. Also, there are 2 small holes on the top for attaching a digital readout, which is also an option. The wheel attaches to a quick disconnect. Everything here is metal, including the shaft. It's quite something, and it makes sense that as part of the design, they would focus so much effort here. The wheel hub is connected electronically with spring-mounted pins, and those make contact onto one of 5 metal pads. Unlike Fanatec, the spring-mounted design is practically impossible to damage without a deliberate effort. This is a real advantage to the overall durability and usability of the MOZA ecosystem. The hub seemed familiar to me, looking very similar to the Kama's quick release, and because the R9 is made to be used with PC, you'll be able to explore all the wheels beyond the regular MOZA wheels. You can just buy a blank hub and attach whatever wheel you like. This is great because perhaps you use sim to train in the off-season, unbolt the real wheel out of your real race car, rally car, or drift car, and then use it all year. I'm going to talk a bit about software. It's a one-stop shop for your MOZA gear, and it can be adjusted via an app. The software is called Pit House and is very complete. For force feedback to work, you need a couple things. 1, the game needs to output what's going on. 2, the software needs to interpret what the game is telling it. And 3, the wheelbase needs to provide the feeling. You may assume that they all work the same and they're all going to offer the same experience. The reality is good hardware can still have bad programming. Driving a real car has all of the texture and feeling transmitted from the tires through the steering column to the wheel and to your hands. The aim of modern force feedback is to replicate that. So some of the legacy systems and some that are just bad may provide the bare basics of feeling. A little bit of vibration to simulate the road feel and a bit of resistance when cornering. Unacceptable. The really good ones give you road feel, texture, and replicate more if not all of what you would normally feel in a real car. Moving from tarmac to dirt in a rally stage, losing the front wheel traction when cornering in the rain. Your front end getting a little bit light for a moment because you decided to straighten your line through a rumble strip. After doing some A/B testing against some of the competitors, whoever programmed MOZA did a good job with older titles like AC and did a great job with more modern titles with better telemetry. The only one nitpicky thing I'm going to say about the experience is both a positive and negative. Its software is one of the most tunable that I've encountered. Some ecosystems give you the basics such as force strength, wheel angle, inertia, and dampener to dial in your experience. Pit House in advanced mode opens up everything and it gets complicated quite quickly. So early on in testing, I found seeing all of it at once was less helpful. So my suggestion, even if you consider yourself very familiar with what everything means, is start with the basics and then tweak one setting at a time on the advanced page. Different games have different required changes to achieve the same result, and in my case, I play and test about 8 game titles. Getting MOZA to work well took me a couple minutes, and if you fancy yourself a true enthusiast, Pit House has probably the most granularity on the market. Everything is plug and play, and I didn't encounter a game title that didn't work out of the box or performed below my expectations. I want to underscore before we move on, overall the force feedback programming and performance was up there with any of the best. The quick release system was easy to use despite there being no center locating pin. You can simply apply the new wheel and then rotate it until the ball bearings lock in. You don't need to reboot when you change out the wheel, and you're going to know that things are working as they should be because there's a pulsing heartbeat of the shift light. This feature was there whenever the base was turned on and you weren't actually driving. Pink. Flashing, pulsating pink. And please comment in the comments if you know how to change or disable this feature. It is a good reminder if you accidentally forgot to power down, but it's super distracting. The R300 CS wheel is great, shipped assembled, but it's basically a bundle of optional parts, meaning that you can substitute your own parts. They sell an inexpensive no-frills formula-inspired wheel that can just bolt right up to the ES, and the range of rims offers goes all the way from the ES all the way to an OLED screen on the FSR, in the range of like $200 to $700. Quite complete. Buttons and dials are clicky and tactile. The shift indicator can be fully customized, not only in what color happens in what order, but you can dim it to suit your needs. The diffuser on the shift lights mean that you never get a perfect cut between green and yellow and red and blue, with a very evident washout. This is very minor, and many actually disable the shift light to use a dedicated panel or rely on the one that's visible in-game. The channel's known for brevity, and you should look out for at least 2 more videos about MOZA. In closing, I'm going to say that I understand what the buzz is all about. MOZA released a great range of products that completely satisfy the market all the way from beginner to enthusiast. Not only did they put the time into the parts, but they did not overlook the software and programming. The R9 is a solid performer, and like the others in this price range, should not be seen as just entry level. Direct drive wheels were limited to professionals only a few years ago, and I'm very happy to see us consumers with so much more choice. Thank you very much for spending your time with me. Please stay tuned because I will be testing the very interesting Camus C5, the Cubic CH2, the Cubic DD20, D-Box Gen 5, and the IGS modular simulation platform. Post your comments or questions in the section below. I love to read and answer. Drive safe.